Good morning, members of the Oireachtas, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests. A very warm welcome to you all to European Movement Ireland's briefing today on the Portuguese Presidency of the Council of the EU, and a very happy new year to you all. My name is Noelle O'Connell and I'm the CEO of European Movement Ireland. I have always enjoyed European Movement Ireland's presidency events. They're our longest running and longest established events, and they mark a new page being turned in the European Union agenda for the year ahead. And certainly as we leave behind the year that was 2020, the motto underpinning Portugal's presidency of a time to deliver a fair, green and digital recovery, it certainly does signify how much is involved for Portugal's presidency. And I think everyone would agree we would all be placing emphasis on the word recovery in every facet possible. In conjunction with Germany and Slovenia, Portugal is part of the trio presidency during the July 2020 to December 2021 period. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate German Ambassador Dike Potzel and all her colleagues in the German embassy here in Dublin for their stellar work when Germany hosted the presidency, and indeed all their engagement with us here in European Movement Ireland during their 6-month presidency. Many thanks, Ambassador Potzel. European Movement Ireland has continued our tradition, albeit somewhat virtually this year, of producing a presidency calendar to complement the work programme of the busy 6 months facing the Portuguese presidency. And it covers EU institutional political engagements, cultural events, important EM Ireland events, and other Irish sporting occasions. And as you can see on your screens now, it is colour-coded across the different themes and is available on europeanmovement.ie website for you to download under our resources tab. And now for today's event, I would like to offer a particularly warm welcome to Portuguese Ambassador to Ireland, His Excellency Miguel de Almeida e Sousa. He has been a distinguished ambassador to Ireland since 2017 and has a long track record of very senior portfolios in the Portuguese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And prior to becoming ambassador to Ireland, he was previously Portuguese ambassador to Israel. And in continuing with our tradition, Ambassador Sousa will give his keynote address on the Portuguese presidency priorities, which indeed is Portugal's 4th time taking this role since joining the EU in 1986. And I would also like to pay a particularly warm welcome to Minister of State for European Affairs, Thomas Byrne, for taking the time, Minister, out of your incredibly busy agenda to be with us here today. And as I mentioned, we will follow the format of the ambassador presenting the Portuguese priorities. Then I'll invite the minister to give his keynote address. And then, ladies and gentlemen, an opportunity for you to pose any questions or comments you might like to raise with both the minister and the ambassador. Please feel free to email in your questions to events@europeanmovement.ie or to directly post them on Twitter. The hashtag for the Portuguese presidency is EU2021PT, and tag in @EM Ireland. My colleague Aoife is manning the question line, and she'll make sure to get them to me when the keynote addresses are concluded. And as is tradition and custom and practice, if nothing, we will start 2021 as we mean to continue with good New Year's resolutions, and we will endeavour to be finishing up, if not before the hour mark, on the hour mark. So, Ambassador, I would like to hand over to you and invite you to present the priorities of the Portuguese presidency to our audience here, who are joining us from Lisbon, Brussels, Paris, Ireland, and further afield. Ambassador.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to start by thanking you, by thanking the European Movement Ireland, CEO Noelle O'Connell and the staff for this new edition of an initiative that has become an important moment for our embassies in Dublin, since it allows us to share with the wider public our plans and expectations for the period during which our countries are entrusted with a special role at the helm of the EU. A word of gratitude also for Minister of State Byrne for taking some moments of his overcharged agenda to attend this presentation, all the more so since he will hear from me only information that he has already received directly from his Portuguese counterpart. Portugal is called to the presidency of the Council of the EU at a particularly challenging moment, with much of the world in turmoil, many changes, including our close neighborhood, when the COVID pandemic and its social economic consequences represent an unprecedented trial for the Union and its member states, when the inevitable complexity of the outcome of the Brexit process brings additional elements to this scenario. In its response to this challenging scenario, the presidency, building on the considerable achievements obtained by the precedent German presidency, and also on our European common values of solidarity, convergence, and cohesion, will aim at strengthening Europe's resilience and to pursue the bolstering of our citizens' confidence in our common project and destiny. It will spare no efforts to ensure that this semester will be marked by the start of a new cycle in Europe. It will strive for coordinated approaches among member states with a view to ensure that we will respond together to our common challenges in a spirit of solidarity and trust. Our guiding motto for the semester will be time to deliver a fair, green, and digital recovery, meaning that we will do our utmost to ensure progresses are made in 5 major areas. Resilient Europe. The Portuguese presidency will actively contribute to a quick start of the implementation of the new MFF, of the new generation EU instrument, and its recovery and resilience facility. Both reflect the Union's ambition to recover from the crisis and provide the necessary basis for sustainable growth and job creation. We will defend Europe's strategic autonomy on the basis of a dynamic industrial strategy, promoting European value chains and paying attention to the robustness of small and medium-sized enterprises, the deepening of the single market, the commitment to innovation, for instance, the launch of the Horizon Europe, and ensuring that access to the European market is made on a fair and equitable basis and respecting the Union values. We will highlight the importance that economic, social, and territorial cohesion policies must have in the process of promoting innovation, entrepreneurship, and competitiveness, which are decisive for greater convergence between our economies of the member states. We will actively promote the strengthening of the EU system for crisis management, as recent events having made clear the need for greater resilience and coordination in the EU disaster response and protection of critical infrastructure. This includes the strengthening of the Union civil protection mechanisms and strengthening of the capacity for surveillance and response to infectious disease. In our view, a vital element of any effort to promote the EU resilience is also upholding its values, the respect of rule of law and democratic values, the fight against all forms of discrimination, the defense of media pluralism, and the fight against disinformation, and all these issues will be duly addressed. To ensure an ever-growing support of our citizens to the European project, we believe that more than ever, the European social model must be placed at the heart of the EU agenda, its importance having been further underscored by the pandemic and its dire consequences on people's livelihoods. That is the reason why our program has a social Europe chapter, which I will come back soon. Regarding the Conference of the Future of Europe, our major goal will be to ensure that it will offer an opportunity for open and wide debate on this fundamental issue, the future of Europe, on the orientations and results of European policies, seeking together the best ways to move forward. In this context, consideration may also be given to the need of a stronger union in the area of health. Last but not the least, we will follow up on the negotiation of the new Pact of Migration and Asylum with view to a European comprehensive and integrated approach that will reflect a balanced vision between prevention of irregular migration, promotion of sustainable channels of legal migration, and the integration of migrants. Cooperation with countries of origin and transit will be a key component in this approach. A social Europe. We believe that the EU must value and strengthen its social model, giving citizens confidence to overcome and recover from the crisis and to face up the climate and digital transformations, ensuring them that no one will be left behind. This idea of inclusiveness must be central in all our future actions. Only a stronger, fairer, and more inclusive social Europe will respond adequately to the social consequences of the pandemic, ensuring intergenerational harmony, a bright future for young Europeans, and the well-being of all. The European Pillar of Social Rights should have a concrete meaning for our citizens, be present in their lives, and the President will use the social summit in Porto in May to give a new impetus towards the implementation of the pillar and the relevant Commission's action plan. The summit will be a central moment in the Portuguese presidency agenda with two key events, a high-level conference on the 7th of May with broad participation of European social partners, European civil society, EU member states, and the European institutions. A leaders' meeting the following day at the invitation of the President of the European Council. This high-level meeting will provide the opportunity to emphasize the pillar's central role in Europe's recovery and adaptation to climate, digital, and demographic transitions. It will also offer an opportunity to strengthen the dialogue with social partners and citizens. Fundamental issues like employment and jobs, equal opportunities, inclusion and diversity, social protection and health will take center stage. We will also give cross-cutting attention to gender equality and anti-discrimination policies, as well as to the fight against poverty, the social exclusion, including the specific protection of more vulnerable groups. Promote enhanced cooperation between member states in the area of health by supporting necessary actions to increase the responsiveness of health service to public health threats, and by supporting member states' efforts to produce and distribute a safe and accessible vaccine throughout Europe and the rest of the world. On Green Europe, we strongly believe that the EU should become a global leader in climate action, increasing its ability to adapt to the effects of climate change and by promoting the competitive advantages of a decarbonized and resilient economic model. Having this objective in mind, the President's work program contemplates a climate change conference, which will hopefully take place in Lisbon in February, second half, to be followed by a similar event in April, but this time focused on green hydrogen and energy transition. The implementation of a Green Deal, of the European Green Deal for a sustainable economic recovery, will receive careful attention, and in the same way that support will be given to all efforts aiming to turn Europe into the first carbon neutral continent by 2050, the core objective of the European climate law. Viewing energy transition as an essential path to achieve the EU's long-term objectives on climate, and fully aware that it requires the mobilization of significant public and private investments, the Presidency will encourage the design and use of financial instruments to achieve that objective, making full use of the possibilities offered by the European Investment Bank. It will promote innovation, digitalization, and sustainable management of the natural resources of the rural world, and will prioritize the continuation of negotiations on the reform of the Common Agricultural Policy. Digital Europe. Throughout the semester, the President will strongly support initiatives to accelerate the digital transition that can be instrumental to confirm it as the driver of economic recovery and to promote European leadership in innovation and the digital economy. In this context, careful attention will be given to universal development of digital skills with a view to prepare the labor world to new production process like teleworking, to digital transformation of business and digital platforms, the areas of e-commerce, payments and taxation, health promotion and disease preventions, and distant learning in education. We will encourage new digital solutions and strategies for the green transition in the areas of health, education, research and innovation, industrial property, justice and mobility. Moreover, we will defend technological solutions that work for people and a fair and a competitive economy that fully respects the values of a democratic, open and sustainable society. We will promote a comprehensive digital cooperation strategy aligned with the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, highlight the EU's role as a global actor and ethical and trusted reference. In this context, the Presidency will co-organize with the European Commission in March in Porto the Digital Day and in June a Digital Assembly. We will also attach considerable attention to the strategic creation of a European data entry platform based on submarine cables, in particular on links between Europe, Africa, and South America, which will contribute to greater European digital autonomy, linking infrastructure and data. The Presidency will launch in June the Ela Link cable linking Sines in Portugal and Fortaleza in Brazil. Global Europe. Europe's openness to the world, its commitment to effective multilateralism, and its geopolitical position as a leading player on all relevant international agendas are all uncontroversial objectives shared by everyone in the EU. To achieve them, to reinforce them, a comprehensive approach and a balanced relationship with other international players are required. The Portuguese Presidency will support the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy in promoting the European external agenda. For its part, the Presidency will give priority to the EU future relationship with the UK, working towards a comprehensive, equitable, and balanced partnership that respects the interests of the Union and its member states, and also the ones of the UK. We will also strive to give new political impetus to relationships with the Southern Mediterranean neighborhood, Latin American partners, the US, taking into account the importance of the transatlantic relationship, considering the upcoming of a newly elected US administration will bring some new approach with positive developments that will occur, we already know, in the climate agenda, and also with the return of the United States to the Paris Agreement, also to the World Health Organization, and also on our relations, our trade negotiations. The relations with India will deserve our attention by stepping up our political dialogue as well as economic and trade cooperation. This we include, at the invitation of the President of the European Council, a meeting of the European leaders with the Prime Minister of India in May in Porto. Promote the reinforcement of global European leadership by consolidating an open and rules-based international trading system, promoting a strong and fair trade agenda, both in the context of the modernization of the World Trade Organization and through new bilateral, multilateral trade agreements, as well as the effective implementation of the existing ones. As it happened in our previous presidencies, Africa will be a cross-cutting priority in our agenda for this semester. The relationship between EU-Africa is of central importance, and both sides are fully aware of the need to maintain a strategic dialogue addressing global changes, be they peace and security, energy transition, trade, population flows, or health crisis. Portugal will organize with the European Investment Bank EU-Africa high-level forum on green economy and investment in April in Lisbon to discuss enhanced investment between the two continents with a particular focus on green investment, energy transition. Working with all relevant European and African partners, the Presidency will also be proactive on the preparations for a successful EU-Africa summit, hoping it may still take place before summer. Eastern European Partnership Summit is seen by the acting Portuguese Presidency as an important moment of its agenda for the semester, since it will give all participants the opportunity to stress the relevance they attach to this initiative, and also for the EU to send a signal of its willingness to maintain in the future a close relationship with its eastern neighbors. Finally, the progress on European security and defense policy and cooperation between member states in these areas will also receive our attention. We'll promote reflection on maritime security based on updated threat assessment in relevant maritime areas such as the Gulf of Guinea and the Atlantic. The Presidency will formalize in May in the Azores the launch of Atlantic Center. So these are this is the program. It's a long program, and it will be. We will try. We are trying, and everything is prepared that to not let it to be hindered by the inconvenience and COVID. Preparations will be going on, and our aim is to push forward Europe on all these dossiers. Some of them are difficult, but we are sure that we can count on our European partners and the institutions, namely Ireland, that we see as a privileged partner, because many of these objectives, as some of the things I said, I think that could be said by an Irish colleague. So I'm open for your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. An incredibly comprehensive overview of very ambitious priorities for the Portuguese presidency, and certainly the busy 6 months that you and your colleagues are going to have ahead of you. And before I hand over to Minister Byrne to make his keynote address, fantastic to see some questions are coming in. So please feel free to continue sending them in. events@europeanmovement.ie or on Twitter by tagging in @EM Minister, it's my honor to hand over to you, and you have the virtual floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Noelle. Good morning, everybody. Thanks again to the European Movement for hosting this event, very timely at the beginning of the Portuguese presidency. Thanks again to Ambassador Miguel for your opening remarks and providing us with a clear outline of Portugal's priorities for the coming 6 months. And you're right, many of them do sit very well with their own priorities. So my colleagues and I look forward to working very closely with the Portuguese presidency over the coming months. This is my second event of this kind that I've attended as Minister of State for European Affairs. Unfortunately, it's virtual. We had hoped that the speakers would at least be together, but we had to put the stop to that. But we do hope we'll be able to meet in person physically in the near future.
Minister, apologies if I might jump in, and just apologies for stopping you there. I think we seem to be having some audio problems with your feed. I wonder, would you have a headset or on there?
I wonder if that's better.
Yes, I think that's better, Minister. Thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting you, but we want to hear what you're saying.
I have a microphone somewhere, but it's not here. But we have about three now. With so much equipment now, sometimes the computer gets mixed up with which is to be in charge. But no problem. Just to thank you all for organising it, and the ambassador said, as you said, very clearly, very comprehensively, what Portugal's priorities are for the coming months, and I think it would be helpful if I said our own priorities for the coming months. It's clear that COVID and the EU's response to the pandemic is likely to dominate the agenda during Portugal's presidency. We can expect further approvals of vaccines by the European Medicines Agency and their administration to European citizens to continue to take centre stage over the coming months. The work we have done in coordinating travel requirements and restrictions and improving it and trying to perfect coordination will also continue to feature. Since the outbreak of the virus in EU member states almost a year ago in March 2020, the European Union has played an important role in ensuring that member states coordinate measures to the greatest extent possible, and we've seen some difficulties with that, but we would say that continued coordination is essential to ensuring that we all deal effectively with this virus and the problems that are caused by it. We can't become complacent in relation to that coordination in 2021. If the European Union and member states fail to deliver vaccines in a safe and efficient manner to their citizens, this will have significant implications for the credibility of the European Union. It's therefore of vital importance that the vaccinations are delivered to our citizens in a safe, fair and efficient manner in 2021. On the MFF and the recovery instrument, I'm very glad that agreement has been reached on the MFF and the Next Generation EU recovery package for 2021 to 2027. The recovery package totals 1.82 trillion. It's truly historic, and it demonstrates that Europe can work together to collectively deal with this once-in-a-generation crisis on the economic front. It reflects the solidarity by the European Union and its member states in delivering unprecedented financial support to help member states' recovery from the unprecedented pandemic. It was difficult to achieve, but it was achieved. The rollout of funding will be crucial to the economic recovery in the European Union from the ongoing crisis. As Europe looks to rebuild its economy and introduce the necessary recovery plans to bring renewed sustainable prosperity back to our citizens, it's important that we focus the green and digital transitions at the centre of this process. Following the December European Council, the European Union transmitted its submission to the national determined contribution of the EU and its member states to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. The submission contains an enhanced EU target of at least a 55% reduction in greenhouse gases, the emissions of greenhouse gases by 2030 compared to 1990 levels. Ireland strongly supports this increased ambition, as well as the overall vision set out in the European Green Deal strategy, which aims to guide Europe to become the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. Taking ambitious climate action is necessary to ensure a sustainable future, both nationally in Ireland, in Europe, and indeed globally. But limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius will require rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented changes in all aspects of our economy and our society, in terms of how we live, work, and travel. The Irish government is creating and implementing policies and strategies to achieve our long-term goal of transitioning to low-carbon, climate-resilient, and an environmentally sustainable economy by 2050. We are committed here in Ireland to achieving an average 7% reduction minimum in overall greenhouse gases from 2021 to 2030, and to achieving net zero by 2050. In tandem with the green transition, Europe must also renew its focus on the digital transformation. The COVID pandemic has brought to the fore the central role of digital connectivity and technology in today's society. It has highlighted the importance of current and future connectivity needs, not just in city centres, but also across suburbs, towns and rural communities. So completing the digital single market is a key priority for Ireland, and we continue to work closely with the Commission, the Parliament and other Member States to deliver outcomes from the remaining digital single market initiatives, which are pro-trade, pro-enterprise, pro-consumer and pro-innovation. A fully developed digital single market that removes unnecessary barriers to doing business digitally and across borders would present significant opportunities for Irish consumers and particularly small and medium enterprises. Ireland looks forward, therefore, with the Portuguese Presidency to accelerate the digital transition as an engine of robust and sustainable economic recovery. The Portuguese Presidency, and the Ambassador has set this out, has placed significant emphasis on the social agenda. And indeed, I've had a number of conversations with my colleague, Minister Ana Paula, in relation to this. We support Portugal's work in this area. We will fully engage with the implementation of the social pillar and the development of the action plan. In Ireland, the Roadmap to Social Inclusion 2020 to 2025, which was published about a year ago, aims to make us one of the most socially inclusive countries in the European Union over the coming 5 years. The principles of the social pillar are fully reflected in the ambitions, goals and commitments of this new strategy. Just like the social pillar, this living strategy will develop and grow over time and aims to deliver real change in those areas which matter most to citizens and to underpin a better quality of life for all. Brexit. It's an item that will remain on the agenda over the coming 6 months. The finalisation of the trade and cooperation agreement between the European Union and the UK, and together with the implementation of the withdrawal agreement, including the key protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland, it means that our key objectives in the Brexit process have been achieved. The agreement ensures the protection of the Good Friday Agreement and the gains in the peace process, including avoiding a hard border on the island of Ireland. It also ensures the best possible outcome for trade in the economy, notably quota-free, tariff-free trade with the UK and our protection in the single market and the customs union. But as welcome as the deal is, it is still huge change. Brexit is not good news. The UK's decision to leave the European Union has been followed up by their leaving the single market and the customs union. This is difficult for Ireland. It's absolutely vital for businesses and citizens to adjust to the new trading arrangements that are in place, especially the new checks and controls for goods that are moving from, to, or through Britain. Government supports are in place to deal with this, and many of our civil servants are working really, really hard to give help to companies. The companies should reach out for that help if need be. So the Portuguese Presidency falls at a key moment with both the Trade and Cooperation Agreement and the Protocol on Northern Ireland and Ireland now both in effect. The smooth and effective implementation of both of these are key priorities for Ireland, and we look forward to working with the Portuguese Presidency on this in the coming months. The Conference on the Future of Europe, this should provide an opportunity to consider the challenges that we face and our policy priorities in addressing it together. We can't recover from this crisis without the support and trust of citizens. The conference must provide a forum for us to rebuild and strengthen that trust and ensure that new policies and strategies reflect the needs and concerns of our people, of our citizens. I look forward to the conference, I hope launching during the term of the Portuguese Presidency. We still believe in Ireland that the focus on the conference should remain on policy issues, not just institutional issues and mechanisms. In a time like this, I don't believe that citizens want us debating process issues and procedures. I think they want and need real action on real issues, and the European Union has shown that it has the potential to deliver. But we support an eventual report to the European Council setting out recommendations emanating from the conference. Also at this stage, we would not favour treaty change as an outcome of the conference, in the belief that there's sufficient scope within the existing treaties to accommodate any new policy directions decided upon. And that, I think, is evident from the response to the pandemic in 2020. Our priorities for a post-COVID EU should remain closely aligned to our priorities pre-COVID, as defined in the strategic agenda. However, the methods The means, the timeframes to achieving these priorities require additional flexibility as we work to ensure that we all achieve a full recovery economically and from a health point of view together. On European Union enlargement, it's essential that we see a reinvigoration of the accession process and delivery on the fundamentals in 2021. About a year ago, we had the positive decision on the opening of accession negotiations with both North Macedonia and Albania, and the endorsement of the enhanced accession process. However, the 2020 annual country reports, which were very comprehensive and serve as an excellent roadmap for 2021, did highlight a lack of meaningful progress in some countries in key areas such as rule of law, judicial freedom, judicial reform and freedom of expression. But this needs to be addressed in 2021. The root causes of rule of law deficiencies need to be tackled, and a sustained effort needs to be visible. But we need to adhere to our commitments on the European side. For the sake of the credibility of the enlargement process, we can't afford for the process to stall in the way that we saw just before Christmas. Questions of history, language, identity, they're complex and sensitive, but they're issues that can be resolved. The bilateral issues with North Macedonia that prevented agreement in December, they should and can be dealt with outside of the day-to-day political process. We have solved bigger problems together. North Macedonia has made remarkable progress in recent years, and we were deeply disappointed that we were unable to begin accession negotiations with North Macedonia and Albania under the German presidency. This was damaging to the accession process and the credibility of the European Union. We all need to work together to resolve it quickly. I very much welcome the emphasis that the Portuguese presidency has placed on the rule of law and European Union values in its programme. Ireland firmly supports the rule of law as a core value of the European Union. The value that we take for granted, we assume everything will be okay, but we know and we see that we cannot afford to be complacent about it. It is important for the European Union to have the necessary tools to monitor the rule of law across member states and effectively respond to challenges wherever they arise. We look forward to hearing more about the proposed high-level conference to be held in May, and we welcome all opportunities to discuss and engage with our fellow member states on the rule of law. So we welcome the publication of the Commission's first annual report on the rule of law last September. We hope the report will play an important role in helping us monitor and support the rule of law right across the European Union. We actively engage with the European Commission in the preparation of the Ireland chapter, and we welcome the independent and impartial review of the rule of law in Ireland. We look forward to discussion of the Irish country chapter at the General Affairs Council under the Portuguese Presidency. So thanks again for bringing us here today, to Noelle and our colleagues at the European Movement for hosting the briefing and for inviting me to share my thoughts with you today. I'd like to conclude by thanking the outgoing German presidency, and in particular Ambassador Potzel, and indeed my own colleague, counterpart, Michael Rowe, for their work in guiding the Council of the European Union in what proved to be extremely difficult circumstances. And once again, I'd like to wish the Portuguese presidency and you, Ambassador, all the best for the coming term, and you will have our full support and cooperation.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that equally ambitious, busy agenda I think that you and your government colleagues have for the duration of the Portuguese presidency and the time ahead, and certainly welcome the ambitious objectives that you're looking to achieve on the Conference of the Future of Europe and the digital recovery. Fantastic to see, Minister and Ambassador, that the questions are pouring in for you both. So I might start with one from one of EM Ireland's long-standing members, Tom Ferris. And Tom has a question for you, Ambassador, if I may go to you first. And he is asking that, given that the Portuguese presidency programme promises to promote reflection on the impact of COVID-19 on gender equality, in particular on labour market participation incomes, and reconciliation of work, personal and family life, are there any specific steps that the Ambassador would like to share with us in this regard?
You're right.
Please, Ambassador, yes.
Yes. Okay. This part of gender the consideration of gender, I think that the main objective of the program of the Portuguese presidency will be that gender equality and fight against discrimination, all forms based on sex, should be a concern in all policies. So it was not only on learning, on the work. I think it is wider. There will be a debate because there are also different approaches in member states. So we will try to approach to organize such a debate that people will learn from their experiences, and we will put together, we will approach and try to find like a common approach to that issue, which is central, which is very active on. It is already very important in our countries. For instance, I can tell you now in Lisbon, in the foreign ministry, or there is only a director general that it is a man. All the others are women. I remember when I was deputy director general, I had 3 ladies as heads of department. So the leadership, and this is at all levels of the Portuguese society, in the economy and all that. So I think that we will have this experience. It is a very good experience, and we will support any initiative by the Commission, and we will be very attentive that all new decisions, gender problems will be duly considered and reflected, and that this is really a transversal principle that must be present.
Great. Thank you, Ambassador. And another question that has come in from Mary, which I might get both of you to answer. And Minister, I might turn to you first. A very timely one. Given President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration next week, how important do you think it will be during the 6 months of the Portuguese presidency or the year ahead to establish a good working relationship with the new US administration? And how ambitious are you for the EU-US relationship, Minister?
Very ambitious for the EU-US relationship. I think, and we saw at the European Council, this is obviously an objective of the member states as well, of the European Union. I think what the Taoiseach has said is that he wants Ireland to play a key role, not just in promoting Irish-US relations, but being a link to the US from the European Union, and to use our position. And I think the fact that we have so many of our diaspora, starting with from the president down, in positions of power in the United States, that we would use whatever influence we have to the benefit of the entire European Union. But I think there's a real hunger on both sides to get that relationship back to where it should be. And what I'm really pleased to see from the US approach as well, they've a very strong commitment to multilateralism as well. And I think that's really excellent. I think it will mark a change in global relations. So we're very excited about it. And we're looking forward to playing our role wherever we can on behalf of the European Union. One European correspondent of mine congratulated me recently on our election success. And I didn't know what he meant, but he meant the Biden election, actually. So I was very pleased that that's the perception out there. But we will use our influence certainly for the betterment of EU-US relations. But there's a real hunger on both sides to get this right.
Absolutely, indeed. And with Ambassador Samantha Power being appointed to USAID, Dublin-born woman, we've a strong Irish element in the new US administration. Ambassador Sousa, did you want to add anything to that?
I think the minister said exactly what he said. I could say it on our behalf of the presidency. I think that the transatlantic relationship, the good relationship with the new administration, will be crucial. First of all, to dramatize a relationship that had seen better times in the last few years. So go back to the dialogue, to cooperation, without conflicts or conflictual declarations. I think it would be important. It would be important to have the United States also on the center of the debate on central issues like climate. And John Kerry already, the envoy John Kerry had already presented or gave a sign that it will be very ambitious. So that will be a change, but also to bring back the United States to certain international institutions and organizations like the WHO and the UNESCO, and that we would like to see them active there, because they are parts of a multilateral system that we want to see reinforced and not weakened. And the fact that a major player like the United States is out of this system and is not inside and trying to improve it, certainly we are doing that. I think that that is something that we lacked on these last few years with the present administration, and that we will hope that will come back in tone and also in content. We are open to of course, we won't agree on everything, but if there is a good climate like it was before, we can solve our differences and reach arrangements that will be good for both of us and also for the international order.
Absolutely, Ambassador. And I think a good climate and a green Europe, it ties in very nicely all around. A question has come in from Andrew, Ambassador, that I might ask you to take again. The word recovery is used by the Ambassador and perhaps implies that the EU is reacting from a position of vulnerability when it comes to the digital landscape. What tangible and practical changes will an enhanced digital and technological profile have on the lives of the EU citizens going forward as part of the Portuguese presidency?
Yes, well, digital transition, it's not the European project. It is a reality that we must face. It will bring major changes in the way we live, the way we work, and so it must be addressed. And it will have reflexes on everything. For instance, we would like to have it will affect the lives of our citizens. That's why inclusiveness is one of the points of one of the major concerns of our presidency. We believe that no one must be left behind, but there will be changes on the labor market. There will be changes on the way enterprises work. And I'm saying in the positive way, the ways that even our structures of our states work, so they can become more efficient. It will be a process that will take some time, and we would like to push it and to be sure that this digital will be like a lever. This digital progress will be like a lever on development and on recovery. And there will be, for instance, in Lisbon, the one we are aiming, for instance, there will be, during the presidency, there will be lots of proposals by the European Commission. They are on the working program of the Commission. And there will be a reflection with results on the declaration, for instance, on the digital democracy. That is one important thing, is basic. There will be a declaration of European Startup Nation standard. And it will create, ideally, will create a permanent structure. There will be 2 proposals on a package of the digital services. There will be a debate and a deeper reflection on electronic identification, European electronic identification. There will be a reflection and preparatory work on the for reinforcement of the EU role as an actor and reference on the global digital sector. So we will look on every dimension. On climate, for instance, it will be for improving and allowing developments on the rural world, for instance, on the changing of the way we work to improve. And it will be on the labor work normally. There will be one of the things that we had to learn on this during this period of confinement or successive confinement. Someone called the yo-yo confinements. It has been the working on by the digital work, lots of meetings. It was difficult, but we got used to it. Although I'm still afraid always that this thing goes down, but this will change the way we work, and so people must be prepared. They must be, especially the older generations, must not feel that they are excluded. Lots of problems that we have seen in Europe, and lots of movements that might not be very useful. One of the senses, one of the feeding senses, was that people that felt disconnected, that were felt excluded. And this is something that we think that Europe must be made with the contribution of all the Europeans, all the groups. And what Minister said regarding, for instance, the conference of Europe, on the future of Europe, that is completely our view. So I'm very happy. I know that we can count on his support and active determination to put forward. I think that digital will be horizontal, will be something progress. It will be like a leverage.
Okay.
And Europe must be at the core.
Absolutely, Ambassador. Thank you for that. And Minister, I might turn to you on the next question. And I think sadly, we're still talking perhaps to a lesser extent. We're mentioning the B word in terms of Brexit in 2021. And congratulations to you and all your ministerial government colleagues, all the officials. I think it was a welcome Christmas Eve present for everyone in terms of the deal. From your perspective, Minister, how do you see? We'll take the Portuguese presidency in the next 6 months. How do you see the new relationship with the UK and the EU developing under the Portuguese presidency and creating that new future partnership? And how do you see Ireland interfacing with both the Portuguese presidency and the UK in this regard?
Well, I think obviously from an Irish bilateral perspective, the relationship with Britain is really, really important. I think it's critical for peace and security on the island of Ireland, particularly in the north of Ireland. The British have a role there, a very strong role, obviously, and so do we. But we cannot maintain peace on the island of Ireland without an active role by the British, and that implies then an active relationship with the British, and a very good relationship. And those relations were strained over the last few years. There's no two ways about that. Brexit we're glad a deal has been done, but Brexit is bad news for Ireland. It still is, and we see problems that have been caused by it, and particularly by the decision to leave the customs union and the single market. It's very, very difficult for us. I think it's difficult for Britain too, as they've been finding out. But we need to maintain good relations, and we're determined to do that. Taoiseach already has met Boris Johnson last summer, has virtual contact as well, and ministers will continue that. So you can expect that on our side. I have no doubt that issues will arise, particularly as we approach ratification, implementation of the agreement as well, ironing out issues that will arise undoubtedly. We will see an active engagement between the European Union and Britain, but it's going to be very, very different. We had membership where we were all close together, discussing, collaborating, even in negotiations. So there's a connection there, discussion and collaboration, even from a negotiating standpoint. That's over now. So there is a new challenge, and the Portuguese will can undoubtedly, they have the oldest treaty in the world, I think, with Britain in 1387 or some period like that, which I was quoting in September, and when with the issue of the Internal Market Bill. So they have long relations with Britain in a different context than we have. But I think that I have no doubt the Portuguese presidency, I'm sure Ambassador will confirm this, with the keen as well to maintain as positive as possible relationship with our neighbour, our friend, with whom we disagree with on Brexit, and despite it all, a key trading partner. And I think that's crucial for all of our economies and for peace and security on the continent as well.
Great, thank you, Minister. Ambassador, am I going to have a question from Ambassador, Norway's Ambassador to Ireland, Ambassador Mary Scar, and she has thanked and complimented you both for excellent presentations and outlining that Norway supports the comprehensive vision for a European Green Deal. Can you elaborate on your priorities and policies for research, innovation, and developing new technologies that will enable us to realise this vision and policy? Ambassador, if you wanted to say a few words to that.
On Greens, on the green dossier, the green agenda?
Yes.
Or wider?
Well, I would say, conscious of the clock, Ambassador, we mightn't go too wide.
I will try to be telegraphic. As I told that several times already, and questions on that, we see the digital agenda and also the social agenda. Those are leverages for a sustainable future development, for the well-being of the populations. There are lots of areas, almost. We are living in a digital society. Some of us have difficulties to accept, others haven't realized that it is like that. So it is something that it won't go back. And so we have to put Europe prepared to reach all these aspects need to be covered. Some are more urgent, others are less. That's why the program, that it goes everywhere, even on economy that will be competitive and integrated, that you will use. There will be data. There will be considerations of data, safety of communication. It is a wild world, and we will pay attention to it. But what is important, and I think that inclusiveness is a major concern of the program. It would be that everyone is involved, that it is not something that only addressed to businesses and to research centers and all that. Of course, they are one of the major stakeholders, but also it is important, and I think that this is what all the program was established to reach out to the population and show them that some of their fears and concerns may find the answer exactly in what they fear, which is digital revolution, digital change, digital progress.
Great, thank you, Ambassador. And just a comment from the Christopher Argues, the Second Secretary of the Embassy of Malta, who would like to note his appreciation, Ambassador, to your mention on illegal immigration and migration, and that boosting the economy, investment and opportunities in Africa is an opportunity and a challenge for a global EU, with the solution at source being the way forward. And he would like to express his thanks to both the Minister and the Ambassador. We have gotten a lot of requests in, Ambassador, for the copy of the agenda that you mentioned in your speech. So perhaps you, at the end of this, you might drop us an email and we can liaise with all the attendees for today's webinar, and you might be able to point us to the official Portuguese Presidency website or where the delegates for this webinar could download the agenda. That would be fantastic. Minister, before I do my concluding remarks, because I think sadly the big red clock in the left corner of my screen has us out of time, Minister, would you like to say any concluding remarks that we didn't get a chance to touch upon during our webinar?
Look, I mean, we have a big opportunity now to show the citizens that the European Union can work for them. I think that was difficult at the start of the pandemic. The European Union response was seen at that time as slow. I think that things have improved. We had difficulties with the budget and the recovery fund, but that's solved. I think the citizens have seen the work that's been done at European level on the vaccine and are appreciative of it. But they need to see that work accelerate in a safe and a safe manner, and that the coordination and the solidarity among all member states is maintained as well. I think the citizens see that as really, really important. So this is a chance for Europe to shine. It has, I think, over the last 6 months, but let's not lose focus. And I have confidence that the Portuguese presidency will be keen as well to ensure that our citizens can see benefits from European Union membership from a health point of view and from the money in their pocket and economy point of view as well, and society as well, that will improve. And we're fully on board with the Portuguese presidency in relation to the social Europe as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Minister. And as you mentioned, we had originally hoped to accept the Minister's very kind offer for the Ambassador and myself and the Minister to be at a socially distant but in the same room. So who knows, over the 6 months, Ambassador, before the end of the Portuguese presidency, that we might be able to launch the Portuguese presidency calendar, perhaps, Minister, on the steps of government building, as is tradition. Maybe when things hopefully improve on the COVID pandemic front. So hope that we can all buy into on that end. Just in terms, with apologies, the clock ran away with us, and fantastic levels of interest and engagement. Just on my own behalf, before wrapping up, I just wanted to remind delegates who are following our event, but who mightn't be aware, that our next event coming down the tracks, that we're delighted, sadly had to be rearranged a number of times due to the vagaries of Brexit, but we are finally in a position to present our European of the Year award to very deservingly to Michel Barnier, Head of Task Force for Relations with the UK. And that event, which will be taking place next Thursday, the 21st of January at 10 a.m, will include contributions from Minister Byrne, Minister Simon Coveney, and An Taoiseach Micheál Martin. It will be taking place online, so please don't hesitate, if you haven't already, to make sure to register your attendance via European Movement Ireland website at what I have no doubt will be a very memorable occasion. And I would also like to thank as well, we have contributions from our good friend Pierre-Emmanuel de Bouw, the Belgian ambassador, would like to thank and pay tribute to the Portuguese presidency priorities for recovery and digital transformation and the common EU values. So I think much agreement, Ambassador, and support for your incredibly busy agenda for the next 6 months. And I would like to thank you for taking the time to address us this morning, to the Minister. I know how busy his schedule is, so we are very grateful to him for being with us here. Ambassador, I think on all of our behalf, as the Minister said, and certainly something that we in European Movement Ireland would reiterate, that you certainly will have a strong friend and ally in Ireland and us here in EMI for your busy agenda ahead. We would like to wish you all the success, boa sorte, in your 6 months presidency. It's going to be a busy time, but I've no doubt a successful time and a very important time in terms of the priorities and the development of the European Union. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in today. It's been our first event in 2021. And the sun is shining as I look out the window, so the year is already a little bit brighter. Thank you for all your comments, your inputs, and your questions. Our presidency calendar is on our website. Please do continue to keep involved and engage with us in European Movement Ireland. If you haven't joined us as a member and you want to get involved and support the really important work that we do, because this week was a very special week for us here as well, as we celebrated the 67th year of our foundation. So we were 67 years young and celebrated our birthday this year. So We want to keep going for another 67, so we can only do that with the support of partners, stakeholders and members. So please do get involved. And in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, until our next event next week, our European of the Year ceremony, I would like to thank the Minister, the Ambassador, all my colleagues in EM Ireland, and to you. And please do take care of yourselves. Slán go fóill.